But the fact that Ryan, has gone through 3 top trainers that would have done a great job, Eddie Reynoso, Joe Goosen, and Derrick James.
Correct.
And he's not training with neither of them. He's training with his dad.
Did Ryan Garcia ever allow those trainers to be the boss?
That's why he's back with his dad, because he's the boss. That's why.
Yeah.
Look, Joe Goosen, I know Joe Goosen. My brother used to train with him. He's not going to just let you get away with stuff like that. Derrick James shouldn't either. Eddie Reynoso doesn't need. He's made so much money with Canelo that if you want to come to me, it's going to be under my rules. And if that didn't work, then Ryan's back. So that's I give that big advantage to Barrios to even pull that off.
See, that's the thing about boxing, and Big Baby Miller pointed it out, because there's no structure. We need some kind of structure. In the NFL, the guy has to sit there for the media interview. He shows up on time. He's got to do it. And to give you an NFL analogy, think about the Broncos, right? When they had Russell Wilson over there and he had his own office and everything. And it was nothing, it was dysfunctional. Then they hired Sean Payton.
Cut it out.
As a coach, that's like going to train with Goosen or going to train with a world-class trainer, right? And you knew as soon as Sean Payton got there, ain't no one's going to have their own office. And you turn around a couple years later, and they're great. They're in the playoffs, right? That's the thing in boxing. When fighters want it comfortable, right? Sometimes when Miguel Cotto would want to train in certain places because it was more comfortable for him, I thought, I want to see the Miguel Cotto when it's uncomfortable, right? And Cotto's a great fighter, of course, and a serious person. But the fighter really has a little too much control when they reach a certain level sometimes of their own career, which is good in one way, but in another way can limit them athletically. Because boxing is not a company.
Max Kellerman analyzes the Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios bout, emphasizing that Ryan's natural talent alone will not be sufficient against Barrios without discipline, structure, and steady training.
But do you think it's more of his opponent, where maybe I could get away with training with my dad, compared to if I'm fighting the top dude?
It'd be a big mistake to underestimate.
Right, and it's like everyone thought he was going to win that fight, and Rolly just outboxed him. Rolly outboxed him and looked good doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy. I wish that Ryan, because he's so talented, I wish he would stick to a coach and really just follow the instructions.
Ryan gonna win this fight.
Max and Robert Garcia commend Ryan's abilities but caution that instability with trainers slows development compared to Barrios' dedication. At the same time,
left hand, make sure that's up, you gotta protect it, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I would imagine he's saying. And gotta take that away. It's probably, a little things like that. They drill a lot of just keeping the hands up all day long. So it's like here, 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 here. But, this freestyle type of boxing, with technique is gonna overwhelm this man.
It was a great experience. He's definitely one of a kind. I took a lot from that fight, just being in there with somebody with his timing, his skill, his speed. Yeah, just gonna use that, in every way, to grow as a fighter.
Your opponent on the 21st, Garcia, hadn't actually won a fight officially since 2023. He's been through a lot of controversies, the scandal with Haney, and then the loss against Rolly Romero. What do you make of all that?
I don't make much of I have somebody who's trying to take my title, and I'm looking just to go out there and defend.
So you're looking to put on a big performance stylistically. What are you going to come with?
Stylistically, I think this is going to be very.
Mario Barrios promises to capitalize on Ryan Garcia's style, aiming at every weakness he has identified, fully committed to defending his title with determination.
And just show why I'm the.
Ryan Garcia states that he feels unchanged despite his trainer's departure and remains locked in while preparing for Mario Barrios.
For you, that he's working with a trainer you're familiar with, then.
Oh yeah, in my eyes, But because I know I've already said some stuff that guy's already told him. But again, like he said, boxing is one-on-one. At the end of the day, he's a free thinker. I'm a free thinker.
Ryan said, Joe's not going to stop this fight. It's going to be a physical fight, a bloody fight. You're smiling when you're hearing that. Is that the kind of fight you want?
Not necessarily that it's the fight I want, but it's never a fight that I shy away from. I've gone out of my shield before. Like I said, every time I step in there, I give it, whatever I have that day. And if that's the way like this fight goes, if it ends in a bloody battle, then you know it does. You know, and I've never shied away from that.
Respect that. I honestly do. I do see that in him. He definitely gives everything he got.
Footage from Ryan Garcia's training camp highlights demanding workouts, crisp combinations, concentrated drills, and serious preparation taking place in Los Angeles. Ryan Garcia forcefully works the heavy bag during a grueling training session. Mario Barrios declares he is completely focused on defense, determined not to allow Ryan Garcia to take his belt, safeguarding his championship pride.
And I'm looking just to go out there and defend.
So you look to put on a big performance, stylistically, what you're going to come with?
You know, Garcia, he's explosive, he's dangerous, and but I think on a boxing level, there's no like competing with us. I think I'm the better fighter.
You just said you're the better fighter. Who should put more on the line with, your title or his credibility?
Wade Plemons discusses the southpaw stance, explaining how it alters a fighter's approach inside the ring. He values seeing Ryan's analytical mindset, the version of him that studies opponents thoroughly before major fights. Wade notes that Ryan has been observing fighters such as Keith Thurman and Abel Ramos in preparation for Mario Barrios, pointing out that both gave Barrios difficult nights. He questions how Ryan's free-flowing boxing style can apply lessons from those bouts to deal with Barrios, who is regarded as one of boxing's best finishers.
Interested to see what Ryan takes away from those fights. What can Ryan and his style, that kind of freestyle boxing he says he does, what can he implement from either of those guys to beat Barrios?
One of the best finishers in boxing. Like, I know you didn't finish Devin Haney, but you had him drown.
I saved him. I should have knocked him. I just didn't have the conditioning.
I think it still bothers you, huh?
Yes, because I should have knocked him out in that 11th, man. I was playing around too much. And I was like, ha ha, like, bro. Man. But next time, that next time, buddy,
there we go again.
You won't have a next time. I'm finishing you. You will never box again if we fight again, and you know that. And I have vowed to that. If we fight again, you will never box again. I promise you that.
Gee, this is what I'm saying, bro. We need this fight. I've said it.
Ryan looks back at his previous fight with Devin Haney, admitting that even though he dropped Haney during the contest, he failed to close the show due to conditioning problems. He expresses regret for not securing a knockout in the 11th round, recognizing that he held back and played around too much. Ryan insists that next time he will remain fully concentrated. Wade answers firmly, warning that in a rematch Ryan would be finished and might never fight again. He underlines the magnitude of the potential matchup, describing it as possibly the biggest fight in America. Both recognize the enormous stakes, and the discussion concludes with mounting anticipation as the fight draws nearer, just 9 days away.
Someone's against him, when people think he'll lose, when it's a different challenge to him, even though the Rolly fight was a huge challenge. It was a world title shot, right? But you think back through Ryan's career and the fights where he performs better. The Oscar Duarte fight, he thought Oscar De La Hoya and all of Golden Boy was against him. Obviously, the Devin Haney fight, no one thought he'd win. The Luke Campbell fight, you know, Luke was an Olympian, so that was a big deal as well. The Gervonta Davis fight, he just lost. I mean, yes, the weight cut, whatever, but Ryan lost. But the mentality of Ryan, that's the thing that's so all over the place from time to time that you just don't know what Ryan you're going to get. I don't know what Ryan we're going to get in the Mario Barrios fight. He's saying all the right stuff. He's trained hard, right? He's acting like this is the one, but mentally isn't, right? Because he kind of said the right stuff. He was a little quieter last time with the Rolly fight, but he said the right stuff, and it's hard to know, dude. It is, because another thing you worry about, I keep looking at this picture of Ryan, and I'm seeing
Mario Barrios speaks about Ryan Garcia as an opponent with respect for his speed, power, and confidence. He recognizes that Ryan has experienced an unusual stretch in the ring recently. Barrios references the flat loss to Rolando Romero and the impressive victory over Devin Haney, while also pointing to the distractions surrounding Ryan, including the testing controversy that may have affected him mentally. Despite the highs and lows, Barrios ultimately says he wishes Ryan well.
At Ryan as an opponent, obviously I'll put respect on the speed, the power, the confidence, and all that, but it's been a weird stretch for him in the ring, to be fair. The lifeless loss to Rolly Romero, the spectacular victory over Devin Haney, but obviously the drug test, everything that went on around that mentally, and certainly at the end of the day, we wish Ryan well. How do you sort of gauge where he's at as a fighter entering this fight?
It's hard to say really, where exactly he's at, but I just had to prepare as if I have a focused Ryan in front of me, as they're saying. And yeah, just everything else kind of is just background noise. But to look at Ryan's, at his best performances, when he has looked extra.
When questioned about Ryan's current condition, Barrios admits it is hard to determine exactly where he stands as a fighter. He explains that his preparation is centered on facing Ryan at his absolute best, approaching training and strategy as if the strongest and most exceptional version of Ryan will appear. Barrios describes the controversies, media storylines, and distractions as background noise that does not influence his preparation. He stresses that he is ready to meet Ryan in the ring regardless of which version shows up. If Ryan performs at his peak, Barrios will elevate his own performance to match it. If Ryan falls short of his best, that responsibility will rest on him. Barrios maintains a professional and disciplined mindset, concentrating solely on strategy, skill, and the fight itself. Tim Bradley evaluates Ryan Garcia's tactical approach against Mario Barrios. Emphasizing timing and accuracy, he explains that Ryan aims to take advantage of Barrios' movement by snapping the jab and catching him as he dips or shifts levels. Bradley highlights a specific punch known as the 45, a blend of a half hook and half uppercut famously associated with Oscar De La Hoya. Ryan has studied and incorporated this punch into his arsenal, and Bradley views it as a dangerous weapon that Barrios must be cautious of in the fight.
Because Barrios is a counterpuncher and he likes to stay, again, close to mid-range to outside, mid-range to outside. So he's like, a step or two, I would say a step, right in mid-range when he's firing shots. And so sometimes he'll throw those single jabs at mid-range, and he can be countered with the right hand, but we all know that Ryan Garcia, hopefully his right hand is back, operating. If his right hand is operating, he should have a field day taking advantage of that, mid-range jab coming from Barrios. And he does it a lot, man. He really does. A lot of stuff that he does, he has good form and technique on it, Barrios. But it's just subtle mistakes that he makes. Like just stand near the pocket after he gets done working so guys can attack him after he gets.
Bradley also outlines Barrios' weaknesses. Over the course of his career, Barrios has had difficulty with body shots, which can impact his stamina and overall performance. Although he possesses a strong right hand, he is vulnerable to clean right hands and left hooks. As a counterpuncher, Barrios prefers to operate at mid-range to just outside mid-range, frequently stepping in with single jabs. While those jabs can be effective, they also create openings that Ryan could exploit, particularly if his right hand is fully effective. Bradley stresses that Ryan's timing, speed, and precision could make him extremely effective in this matchup. Barrios' solid form and technique are clear, but small positioning and defensive errors might give Ryan the opportunity to take control. Bradley ultimately frames the bout as a battle of timing, skill, and strategy, with Ryan's sharpened techniques posing a significant threat to Barrios.
He swells. He swells quickly, man. Yeah, he gets damaged really easily. You touch him, he starts to bruise up immediately, starts to swell up immediately. So I think Ryan having those heavy hands, I think that can be an issue in the fight as well. Those eyes will start swelling, that nose will start swelling up. I've seen, eyes and nose swell up on Barrios, man, and he looked like, real bad, the Elephant Man, after the fight. So I think that's something that we got to take into consideration as well. I think, again, let's go back to the trainer. I think it's going to favor Barrios, the fact that he knows that his trainer knows Garcia. It is going to favor him. He's going to know, the approach, on how to get to Ryan Garcia. He's seen him in.
Chris Algieri points out what Ryan Garcia contributes to the sport, highlighting his popularity and star appeal. In contrast to George Kambosos Jr., who was hardworking but less naturally gifted and never a major star, Ryan commands attention through his charisma, athletic ability, and flashy style that make him compelling to watch. Algieri observes that Ryan has not yet secured a world championship, which makes comparisons to Kambosos challenging since George achieved his major victories through determination and resilience, particularly his win over Teofimo Lopez. While Ryan's journey has been driven by talent and fame, Algieri questions whether he will ever secure a defining victory on the level of Kambosos. Still, Ryan's popularity keeps him in demand and ensures he remains a significant attraction in boxing.
From the onset about being a star. Kambosos was never a star. Kambosos was never that popular. Not the way that Ryan Garcia is. So Ryan's here because of that. And yes, he does have some physical gifts and a ton of physical talent, and physical gifts that make him, must-watch TV when he's on. But we haven't seen him on in a long time. And, he hasn't gotten to that position. It's hard to compare him with George because George was the opposite. George was just a hard worker. George always came in shape, but in terms of talent, he was lacking. He got that big win and also heart and grit. And man, did he cash out on that win because he made so much money after those fights, got himself into so many opportunities that he never would have gotten if he had lost to Teofimo Lopez and became undisputed. Ryan is still yet to be world champion. These guys are almost like literally polar opposites of each other.
Robert Garcia emphasizes that although trainers can provide guidance, ultimate success depends on the fighter's personal dedication. He explains that regardless of a trainer's expertise, if the fighter does not listen, respond, or commit fully to the work, changes in training alone will not produce results. Garcia notes that highly successful fighters such as Ryan Garcia often take control of their camps, surrounded by trainers and staff who may function as yes-men. In this situation, the fighter effectively becomes the authority figure, which can complicate efforts to improve technique or discipline. He underlines that even the most accomplished trainer cannot overcome this dynamic if the fighter refuses to accept direction. Garcia compares the situation to Todd Marinovich, the Southern California quarterback whose immense talent was clear but whose career was affected by personal and outside pressures. The message is straightforward. A fighter's environment, including family, friends, and personal matters, significantly influences performance.
Look, every trainer is going to do his best to try to correct that and try to get Ryan to do it, but at the end, it's gonna be Ryan himself. You know, it's his things going on in his world, his family, his friends, himself with all those, you know, personal problems. At the end, there's nothing a trainer could do if the fighter doesn't respond, if the fighter doesn't listen, if the fighter doesn't do it. And most of the times, when fighters are that big, like Ryan is, they're the bosses. They call the shots, and the trainer, everybody around them are just the yes men, and that's a problem. That's a problem, and we can't fix that with nobody. You could be the best trainer in the world, but if you got a boss, you know, as a fighter, then and you're a yes man, there's nothing you could do. Ain't nobody gonna.
That concludes today's video. Stay tuned. Until next time.